catch up. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is, if you have it open like this, we're just going to click on the new file. There's a bunch of different templates here. Just go with the default. We're going to go with construction. This way, we'll all just have the same things available to us. Don't worry about this right now. Just make sure it looks like this and hit OK. So just to start, we're going to run over a bunch of the interface options here. Yeah, sure. So kind of like any other program, you're going to have the Revit button up in the top. You know, this is where you're going to save your files, open new files, export, just like any other program. This is the ribbon here. This is where you're going to be grabbing a whole bunch of your commands. If you don't know the shortcuts, you're going to be using this. And similar to Rhino or Grasshopper, there's a bunch of tabs with various options within. What we're going to be focusing on today will be primarily the architecture tab, maybe the view tab, and modify. Other options or windows on here is the project browser. Does everybody have a project browser open? Does anybody? Nobody's missing it? Okay. What this is it's essentially a list of all the views you have. It also contains things such as legends or schedules, which, I mean, we're not going to be getting into that sort of stuff, but Revit has the capabilities to sort of manage those things for you. And sort of to relate it back to AutoCAD, if you think of all these views as sort of that model space in AutoCAD, the sheets down here are kind of like AutoCAD's paper space. So this is where you'll determine the size of your plotted sheets. Today we're just basically going to be looking at these views here, floor plans. We don't need ceiling plans, elevations. You'll notice there's no section on here. If we have time, we're going to try and create a section, and we'll get to that later. But when you draw the actual section line in your model, it will create a new view for you. More on that later, but that's the project browser. This one over here is also important. Does everybody have the properties window open? Is anybody missing the properties window? Yeah? Okay, that's okay. To open this up, go to your View tab. And on the far right side, do you see the user interface? Open up the properties guide there. I am using 2014, so it might be a little bit different for you guys, but it should be the same. Did that work? You good? Okay, great. So this guy's got a ton of information in here. What we'll see later is this is your type selector. And essentially, the objects you place in Revit, there's often different variations of that object. So for example, a wall. If you place a basic wall in Revit, which we're going to do, and we'll get to that, this button here will allow you to select that object and switch it to a different type of wall. So instead of just a brick wall with 4 inches of bad insulation, you can choose a curtain wall, and it'll just change it automatically. It's super simple, super easy. It's not complicated. We'll get to it. In addition to that, there's also the Edit Type button here. We're also going to be looking at that today. If the type of wall, again, to follow that example, doesn't exist in the library you're using, what you can do is edit a generic wall or a wall that's really similar to yours and manipulate it to the construction that you want. This is probably confusing right now, but we'll get into it, and it's actually really simple. This guy here is just I believe it's a selection filter. Say if you had a building here and you selected a whole bunch of it, if you can go over here and choose between the view. So right now we're just all that's available to us is the view, which is floor plan level 1. But if you had, say, selected a wall and a door, it would also show up as wall and door. So you can use this to select, say, just the door, and it will show you all the properties info of that door, and it'll disregard the wall and the view information. And this is like any other properties window you're going to see in a modeling program. You're going to have a whole bunch of information in here. We're not going to go over it right now, but just know that every object you select, a lot of the information that you can manipulate is accessible right here. So that's the basic interface. Actually, real quickly, also for each view, down in the bottom left here, you'll have the scale. This is the scale you're drawing in. Also, you can change it. This is the detail level, so you don't have to worry. Well, you do have to worry about it, but Revit will do line weights for you. You can adjust settings for the line weights, but everything will come in with its own line weights, so that's handy. This button here will allow you to choose how you want to view those line weights. This is just a level of detail. And again, we'll play with that once we have some objects in here. Again, this should look familiar to anybody who's opened up a modeling program, just how you want to look at things. Sun path, you guys don't need to worry about. Shadows, that's, if you want to export something quick and dirty, you can turn that on. The crop view and show crop view region, these are basically just, they're more important when you're placing things on a sheet, and so you can actually crop your drawing. So you have the entire site modeled, but you only want to show the building. Turn these on and crop it to just your building, and you can put that on your sheet. Again, more on that later. This is to look at temporarily hidden or isolated objects. This is to reveal hidden objects. And I've never used these before. I don't know what they are. Properties and analytical model or something. Yeah. Don't worry about it. Great. So if you guys are ready, we can start actually building something. So if you hop over to the architecture tab and click the drop down on the wall button, if you choose architectural wall, we can go with that. Don't worry about structural wall. Go for it if you want. It'll probably look the same. I think the only difference is the structural wall has a bunch of information in it regarding strength. So if you're going to do some sort of analysis later on, you can use structural walls. Click the architectural wall. You'll notice in the properties window, the type of wall we're going to be building is a basic wall, just a generic 200 millimeter chunk. That's all it is. So at this point, you guys are free to make whatever shape you want. It's a simple click, and you can either click again to complete that wall and hit enter, or escape, sorry. And you can adjust the length of it just by editing the dimension here. The other option is you can click and type the dimension in as you draw it out. Simple. Everybody got that? You guys will probably be working in Imperial, yes? Because your original drawings were Imperial? Is anybody interested in changing the units from metric to Imperial? Or are you in Imperial right now? How did it open up? What do you guys have? You guys have metric? Okay. Would you guys like to switch over to Imperial? No? Okay. You don't have to, but I'll show you how, just because you might need it later. Where is that again? So under the Manage tab, if you hover over here to Project Units, open that up, and you're free to go in and change these values if you would like. I'm going to stick with metric just because. Yeah. Okay, so also just for maneuvering around, panning in plan view is just your middle button, scroll button. Later, once we open up a 3D view, we'll talk about orbiting around, but for now, zoom in, zoom out with the scroll and pan. Let's just make a simple room here. You'll notice Revit will just join the walls for you here if you just select on the end. You don't have to fill it anything. You don't have to mess around with it. It's also extremely easy just to move these things. You can just drag them or adjust these values. And if, say, currently this guy's reading off of the center point, we'll wait for them. So you'll see this wall is being measured off the center point of this wall. You can actually just change that by dragging it. Sorry, question?
Yeah, I'm building my wall, creating like a construction line, and then the wall is
It doesn't show up at all. Did you follow the steps exactly? I'm not going to be answering questions today, like one-on-one, just because Kaylee can't run this right now. So I'm just going to stick up here. But if you have any issues, we can talk after class.
Enter after you look through the wall.
Yeah, it's working though.
Awesome.
Yay!
Good job. Great. So does everybody have a shape, a room of some sort, more or less? If not, you can build it right now, quick and easy. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So now, if you guys want, you can actually see what. Well, no, you won't be able to. So let's change the wall type real quick. So if you select your walls, instead of just having this chunk of nothing, you can switch it to any sort of wall you like. These are just the preloaded ones. Let's just do a brick on metal stud. So you'll notice the wall's probably got a little bit thicker, but other than that, you don't really see much of a difference. To actually see that, if you switch this to fine, you'll notice that now we have bricks and a steel stud. Unfortunately, our bricks are all on the inside, except there. Quick and easy way to fix that is just select it and reverse the orientation. Okay, so now you'll see the line weights are in there. There's thick ones on the outside. We've got patterns, thinner line weights.
Anybody else not get their wall type to open? We keep clicking on that tab and it doesn't open.
Wait, this guy?
Yeah.
Did you have this selected?
Yeah.
Did you guys open up the construction template?
Yeah.
We'll look at it after class.
Hold on, maybe if I move my properties to the other stuff. Oh yeah, there now. It doesn't work if my properties tab is on the right, or it only works on the left.
Oh, it opens up to the side?
Yeah, it'll only work if it's on the left side.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, it's the left.
Email Autodesk and let them know.
See, it works now.
Great. Okay, So again, if you prefer to just see what these things look like, there's also colors in those walls. Materials are already added to these wall elements, so you guys don't necessarily have to do that. If you want to change them, which you likely will, to match the walls you guys are dealing with, that is possible. I think what we'll do right now is edit one of these wall types and change the assembly. So to do that, let's say this wall is a little bit different. Okay, well, if you want to make it a curtain wall, this is how you do that. Now you have a curtain wall. For this, we're going to start with this one. We'll go with this one first. Okay, we're going to just change the assembly of this wall here. So what you want to do is, once it's selected, hit the Edit Type button. And you never really want to overwrite one of these things, because Revit does a really good job, and these walls are all made for you. What you want to do before you change any of this information is just hit Duplicate. So let's say instead of an exterior brick on metal stud, let's change the name to exterior brick on metal stud with lots of information, or lots of insulation. Why not? So this is a bunch of information for that wall. If you guys click on the edit button here under the structure, you'll open up the assembly editor. So this is what you guys are going to be doing to sort of match the assemblies in your previous projects. First column here is the function column. It's pretty basic. I think there's five different options. 6 with the membrane layer. Certain functions won't be allowed to be placed on, say, the outside or the very middle. Like, I think if you put a membrane layer, let's say brick column, membrane layer. Yeah, so you're not allowed to use a membrane layer on the outside because membranes are always covered up. So it's smart in that regard. It should help you choose which one. This is pretty straightforward. I mean, your structure is going to be the metal stud in the middle. Your brick is going to be your finish. Yeah, you guys can figure that out for sure. If you want to change these things, so if we're making a wall with more insulation, looks like here, so behind the brick we've got 3 inches of thermal or air layer. Metal stud is 152. Let's say we're going to add 2 inches of rigid insulation on the inside of the metal stud, just because. If you insert a new item, we're going to go down to thermal air layer, and in the materials section, click on this little box here with the 3 dots. And now you're in your materials browser. So not sure what you guys will have. Do you guys have Autodesk materials and AEC materials? Yeah, maybe.
Okay, how do you get the
Great.
AEC materials if you don't have them? Do you download?
Yeah, I don't know. You do have a library though, yes? Correct?
I don't have that window.
This window?
No, the one, I have the one up there, materials, and then the one down there, Autodesk, yeah.
Okay.
There's a show hides library panel. That's what
Yeah. Regardless, if you just search for, let's look for insulation. Do you guys have rigid insulation? Does anybody not have rigid insulation? No? Okay, cool. So in the material browser, again, this is where you can change how it shows up in your sheets. When you're rendering, you're going to want to look at the appearance of it. This is how to look. I don't think we need to worry about it for rigid insulation. It's going to be within the wall. But there's a whole bunch of other information in here which you guys don't need to worry about at this point, but just be aware that this sort of stuff is in Revit. Great. So once it's selected, double click it. We've now got rigid insulation in here. Under the thickness, put in your value. So I'm going to go 50 millimeters or 2 inches. And as far as wrapping and structural material, these buttons, again, you guys don't need to worry about right now. This is important when you start to get into corner conditions and how various materials meet. Like we noted before, Revit will fill the walls together for you. The way in which those materials meet each other, whether it's sort of angled fillet versus overlapping, is determined in here. So if we were just to say OK now with this and OK here, we'll notice that this wall has interior insulation. Is that process clear or unclear? Somebody? Anybody? Good. Nodding heads. Okay, cool. So, are you guys? Is anybody unclear as to how to change this? Like, do you guys know how to apply that now to your assignment in creating a new wall? It's the same step for any one of those items in the assembly. You change it, change the function, and create or choose a material. You guys can create materials as well. Actually, we can do that real quick too. So if we go back into that edit layer, let's say instead of gypsum on the inside, we want something else. If you go down here to create new material, you get a default new material. Whoops. Right click to rename it. We'll just go with some sort of wood panel. And again, you'll get the identity, graphics, and appearance. This is where, again, kind of like any other program, if you want to import an image into here, you can load one. Let's try. It's a wood panel. Okay, grass. There, now we've got grass. Also, in the preview guy up here, you can change it by selecting different shapes. So if we're applying it to a wall, feel free to change that to a wall, and you can look at our beautiful new wallpaper. And again, you're free to adjust any of these options on the material, similar to any other program. So we'll apply those and hit OK. So now we have wood panel, which is actually grass. Okay. So now that we've got this, you guys might want to see it in 3D. If you want to create, like as I mentioned before, we can, once you draw the section line, you'll get a section. But if you just click this button up here to the default 3D view, it will open it up, and it will also create a 3D view over in your project browser. So you can name this view if you like. Revit has this little guy. I think AutoCAD had it too. Hopefully you didn't use it because it would have messed up your 2D drawings. But if you just click it, hold down and move, you can rotate around. You can also rotate by holding down Shift and your right click button. And again, all the same things apply here. How you view the material and what it looks like. So you can see now we've got our brick on our wall with a wonderful curtain wall here. I don't think we can see the grass because it doesn't have a graphic view. You'd have to render it. Do any of you have a sort of curtain wall type assembly from that assignment? Do you remember?
I don't think they.
Anybody? Did anybody have really big windows? Kind of. Would you like to know how to manipulate a curtain wall?
Yeah.
Great. All right. So if you have the curtain wall selected, actually no. We'll get to that in a sec. Let's just talk about manipulating all of the walls. If you guys open up an elevation, anyone, doesn't matter. You'll notice that if you opened up the construction template, there is already a bunch of datums associated with this project. You probably don't need the majority of them. You can literally just delete them. You'll notice you'll get a warning. The view that is associated with that datum will be deleted. So if you watch over here, they'll disappear as well. These are handy though. All of these walls, when we were building them, in the properties menu, you'll see that there is no top constraint. Let's just pull this out. So the unconnected height was 8,000 because it wasn't constrained by anything. So these walls are all 8 meters tall. If we select all of them, oh, again, let's go. Here's the selection filter. So we just selected everything we just made, right? If you use this tool here, you can choose which of those items you want to adjust. So click it and go on walls. We now just have the wall selected. What we can do is actually constrain the height of this wall to one of these datums. So in here, you can select on level 2, and all the walls adjust themselves automatically to that datum. This is extremely helpful because you can actually just move this guy around and all the walls attached to it move with it. So there's also a bunch of other options here. You can offset it off of that level, so you want a parapet or something. Hit enter and apply, and you'll notice that it will adjust. It's just another way to sort of manipulate these walls. Should we edit the curtain wall or go into floors and roofs?
Do floors and roofs, and then
Okay.
we can put it in the window.
Sure, yeah. Okay, so if we go back to level 1 plan, what we're going to do now is just work on the floor. So again, drop down, architectural, super easy. You can select the walls that you want the floor to attach to and hit enter. If you don't want that floor to align exactly to those walls, you can A, move these lines, or B, you can draw new ones. Say you got a patio out here. Connect those lines up with the modify tools. So this floor won't work because it's not one surface, it's 2 surfaces. So what we have to do is fillet it. I remember having a lot of trouble with Revit commands because they're slightly different from AutoCAD. They're pretty straightforward though. If you have any questions about them, feel free to just hover over them, and sometimes they'll even come up with a mini tutorial for you right there. So we're not going to go over those because Revit does it for you. But feel free to finish up your floor and just hit the check mark here to complete it. You'll notice too here in the properties menu that we have just, again, a generic floor. So if you go back to your 3D view, you'll see that we now have a floor. If you don't like the way it's lining up with the walls, all you have to do is select it again and edit the boundary. It is editable in the 3D view. If you're in an elevation, it will ask you to change your view. You don't have to. Actually, I think you do have to change your view, but you can go back to the elevation view once you're in the edit window. Regardless, let's just say we want our floor to go to the inside of our walls. And what we're going to do is we'll hit OK. And again, if we go back to our 3D view, what we can do now is have our walls wrap down around it, say, as if it were going down to a foundation wall. And you can do this either way. This isn't the right way. I'm just showing you guys you can manipulate them. Actually, right now it's a good point to make. You'll notice that these are just windows. Each time you open a view, it opens another window in this space. And that can get kind of heavy after a while. It's handy just to like, okay, don't want 3D view, I want to go back to the one I was looking at previously. So once you have, say, 100 different views and or sheets in here, it's a good idea to use, let's just open up a whole bunch. So you'll see there's a whole bunch back there. If you go view close hidden over here, these will typically be full. That'll make this close hidden tool available. You hit that and it will eliminate all those windows behind it. It's just a way to keep your system running smoothly and not overloading anything. Where were we? Let's go back to 3D. So now if we want the walls to drop down, again, it's really easy. If you just go into an elevation view. Currently, all those walls, like we said, are have a base constraint of level 1. We can offset that to, that was a 400 millimeter floor, so if we just go negative 400 to apply, those walls will drop down, and now it's tidier. It's going through the patio. We're not going to worry about it.
Okay.
Is that relatively clear? Kind of? Yeah? Okay. And you guys, some of you will have roofs, some of you will just have ceilings in your project. Just for simplicity's sake, we're going to go over just a roof. Again, I think what you guys might want to do, some of you have that Kirby roof, right? From the Erickson house? Yeah? Okay, we'll go over that in a second, but we're just going to do a basic roof right now. It's not hard, so don't worry about it. So roof by footprint. This is really basic. It's telling us we can't work in this view. If you open up, let's go to level 2, because that's where our roof is going to start. roof by footprint. Again, it's just like the floor. So we can just select the walls. What's going on here? There we go. So what this is going to do is it's just going to create a roof that's perfectly aligned with your wall. If you guys want something like an offset, I believe it's here. Yeah. So now you're going to get a little bit of an overhang from your walls. That's the wrong way. Revit's pretty good too. If you're doing say you're moving something like this and you're moving at the same distance every time, it'll lock on to that distance more easily, I guess. So if we keep moving this like 200, I can't remember how many times you have to do it, but after a while it'll just snap to 200 really quickly, which makes it easier. Also, if you're drawing and you don't like the look of these big chunky lines, you can hit TL, which will just reduce them every line down to really basic line work. There won't be any line weights. What that is just the thin lines tool. It's up here. Again, there's a mini tutorial there showing you what it does. So click or unclick, whatever you like. Back to the roof. Right now we're in a basic generic roof. And I believe if you select, well, let's just hit enter. Just show you what you got. Go back to the 3D view. So we have just a flat roof that's resting at level 2. So because we have that offset on the walls, they're going up above the roof. If you want to adjust that, go in and eliminate the offset, and they should all rest just under that roof that we created. Let's say you don't have a flat roof. If you go back into edit footprint, here's what I was talking about earlier. It'll ask you to change your view. So choose level 1. You can open that up. If you select these, where is that? Right. So this here is a slope arrow. It will point up. There is an easier way to do this. I just can't recall how to do it right now. Oh, there it is, right. So you can either use the slope arrows to define your slope, or the better way, in my opinion, at least for you guys, is once you have these items selected, if you check this box over here, it defines roof slope, which means this boundary line will cause a slope to come off of it on the roof, if that makes sense.
In the center?
Here, I'll show you what it does here. So if you hit enter, that now that's like the base of a 30-degree slope. This is important because if you put all of them, say they all are defined by a 30-degree slope, your roof will now look something like this. And Revit figures your roof out for you, which is super handy. So again, if you want just like a simpler roof, all you have to do is go in there and edit that footprint and either change the slope to 0 or just tell those walls that they do not define a slope, and you'll be given this. You'll notice now that our walls don't actually go up to that roof. What you can do is I think your best bet is to, once you have it selected, the modify option will show up, and if you just join it, I think, or is it roof? Yeah, no, join. Also, have any of you had this pop up recently? So Revit will tell you that you haven't saved in a while, which is really handy. It's also really annoying. I hate it, but
We also love that.
I also love it because it saves you. Maybe we'll talk about this in another tutorial, but Revit also creates a bunch of backups. I don't know if that's the default or not. We'll have to look into that, but it can get kind of insane. It'll just save and save and save and save, and you'll have all these files saved up, and it's kind of ridiculous, but we'll talk about that later. Back to the join. If we join these two, or is that not the right tool?
Can you cut it?
I don't think so. Sorry, having a brain fart. Are all of you up to this point so far? Are there any questions? Nothing? Are you still all awake? I know it's super exciting. Here it is. Again, mini tutorial given to you. If you just attach the top or base to the roof, it will do it for you. Yeah. It's always easier than you think. So if you do that to the walls that are not connected,
So how do you deal with that?
right.
Can you do that again?
Yeah, the attach.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just undoing right now. If you select the wall, this modify window will come up at the side here. Attach, and then select your roof, and it will automatically adjust to the slope of the roof. For simplicity's sake, to solve this, I would just drag that wall over so that it fills it in there. If you wanted that, say you didn't want that interior wall in that space, running all the way over there, what you can do is just build a wall that is shaped like that, and it's kind of messy. I think there's a better way to do that, but the way you do that is edit the profile. Yeah, so this is an issue. You guys don't need to worry about it right now, but let's do it real quick just because. You can actually edit the profile of this wall, and if you just draw in where you want it to go, ignore that line. That's just saying that that line's not connected to that line anymore. And you want your wall to look like this. Also, escape button is like cancels your command. Sorry, I didn't mention that earlier. So if we hit OK, those elements are now joined. Like it's still kind of sketchy. The wall's not exactly aligned with the roof, but
Can you do the attachment?
no, with the profile cut, you can't attach. So you're left with that, which you
Would
can.
that be like constrain a wall to just the second floor and then align it with the roofs?
Yep, you can do that too. Exactly. You'll just get the wall in here. Like if you wanted like an open gabled ceiling.
Yeah, well, what I meant was
It's-
if you align it to the roof, would it trim it on the bottom half as well for the lower roof and the upper roof?
Sorry.
Could you align it to both the roofs there and then have it trim it along the bottom and hit the top?
Means like alignment, or like constraint to this and this, and it would like trim it.
Oh, I don't know. We can give that a shot. So used to other programs, keep hitting Alt. Whoops. That might work if these were two separate roofs. I think because they're the same, it's just associating the connection with the top one. But yeah, something to try out at some point. Okay. So now you have floor, walls, roof, nasty curtain wall on the front. Actually, no, sorry. We still have to do the curved roof. Sorry about that. Let's do that real quick. So if we just delete that roof and detach these walls, can we do that? Let's just delete that guy altogether. Oh, no. Also, something that might be handy to you guys, match properties. I can't remember where the button is. Oh, right there. So under modify, just select this guy here. And I think you pick up the type you want and you paint it onto another one. So I had just drawn a generic wall, and you can change it to the wall you have beside it just by painting that type onto it. Now if we're gonna, roof. So level 2 again. Last time we did the roof, it was with the roof by footprint tool. This time we can do it roof by extrusion. So if you want to do that curvy roof, is it an Ericsson house? Is it? That's. Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry, no one.
Okay, cool. What you want to do is open up the elevation you're going to be working in, and then hit it. And I guess just select the face of the wall that you're going to start the wall on. It'll ask you which level to reference. So this is like, where is the roof going to be? Level 2. Again, offset, you can play with that as you like. Let's go with a spline, I guess. So all you have to do is draw the profile, just like that. And maybe we can stretch it out. I think if you just hit enter, what it will do in your 3D view is create a sloped roof. And again, same rules apply for attaching the walls.
Excuse me. Is it possible that you can select everything like that at once?
Like more than one item.
Like more than one item?
Yep, so right now I've got those two selected, and if you just attach it to the roof, yeah. Is that clear? These ones are a little more difficult. You can only sort of adjust them in 2 dimensions here. So if you want to like have an overhang to the right here, say, you have to go in and adjust that profile curve. But that's, yep. So if you go back to, what were we in, west or south? Go here and then edit profile and just change it there. Overlap there and there. Good? Cool. Okay, I'm just going to close a bunch of those. Okay, back to the curtain wall. No, not yet. We're going to do another basic thing. Just walls are having penetrations, so windows and doors. If you hop into a plan view, you can also do this in the 3D view, it doesn't matter. Back in the architecture tab, again, it's really simple. Door, choose which way or where you want it to go. Flip it around, back and forth. Adjust it using these dimensions. Too small. The same thing goes for windows. You can choose the type in the type selector. Again, you guys don't need to worry about how pretty this is for your assignment. It's just kind of showing that you have the competency to work through it. So the reason I did that first is if you want to put a door on a curtain wall, great. Let me get rid of this just because.
How are you hiding these things?
Sorry?
How are you hiding these?
Hiding? Oh, I've been deleting them, but to hide, if you right click, you can hide the element you have selected, the category of that element. So that's kind of like if I hid the category wall, all the walls disappear. Which can be helpful once you get more complicated models and you want to just focus on one thing. To get that back, you can undo, or if you hit this reveal button, everything in pink is sort of hidden. So if you select those and right click, unhide that category, it brings it all back. Is that cool? Okay, so curtain walls, let's say you have really big walls or something on your building and you want to use the curtain wall as a means to represent that. With these selected, or sorry, in the architecture tab, you'll notice there's a curtain grid and then mullions. Mullions attached to a grid. So if you select that grid tool, what you can do now is just open up an elevation. Where is that? Oh, right, okay. So once you have your curtain wall in view, hit the curtain wall grid, you can now start to place these grid lines on your curtain wall. And just like anything else, you can go in and adjust them. If you go back again to mullions now, you can just hit all grid lines, and you'll pop mullions down on all of them. Or you can go in one by one and do each segment, like that. And again, with the mullions, you can change them to whichever ones you like. Certain ones only work in certain conditions, or you're required to use some of them in certain conditions, such as corner mullions. So if you have a curtain wall that's meeting at a corner, you have to have a corner mullion so that it actually wraps around. So now that we have this grid on there, it sort of splits the wall up into pieces. So if you use the tab key while you over top one of these, so right now it's selecting the mullion. If you hit tab there, you can start to select things that are hidden behind that object or are in the same space as that object. So what we're going to try and do is get the panels. That should be nice. So there's a bunch of different components involved here. There's the grid, there's the wall itself, there's the mullions on the grid, and then there's the panels created by the grid. What you can do with these panels is adjust them between solid and glazed. These are just the two default things. So I'm saying this because if you guys are using these for your assignment and you don't have an actual curtain wall, you just have really large windows, you could potentially go in and say eliminate the mullions that aren't there and just call this a wall, I guess. I don't recommend this. I would go with an actual wall and real windows, but the tricky part with curtain walls is if you want to have a door in them, kind of like before, you'd think you could just go up to door and choose a door to go on that wall, but it just doesn't work like that. Because it's one big window, you have to sort of load a window door. So if you click on the door tool and go load family, and this goes for this is like what you need to do for any sort of family you want to load. The curtain wall door is just a little bit special because it's messed up. If you open up doors, you can load a curtain wall, single glass door, or double glass door. If you open that, what will typically happen is you'll have it selected and you can then just start placing it into the wall. But because curtain walls are just messed up this way, what you have to do is change the panel to a door panel. So you'll notice that instead of just glazed and solid, now we have this curtain wall glass door available to us, and that panel now becomes a door. Obviously you should probably consider where your doors are going to go when you're putting the grid down, or else you're going to get a floating door, but that's how the doors work. I think, is there anything else in there that...
No, I think.
Are there any questions? Sorry? Project browser? Okay, so again, just kind of like the properties view tab, if you go to the user interface, and open up project browser. That work? Oh, it's like floating around out here. If you just take it over there, it'll jump into place. Okay, so